everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It. Today I'm going to be painting a massive darkness character, the Iron Golem. This is one of the roaming monsters that appear in the game, starting with a nice easy one, and here are the colours that I use in the tutorial. You can find the list in the description below. So I've started by priming the model in plate mail silver, which is a perfect match to the Claymore blade from the Zombicide army painter set. So let's start the base coating, and we'll begin with Sombre grey, a bluey grey, and this is to paint in the bits of sort of under his armour, so under his arms. If you look at the card, they just look a slightly different silver/grey to the rest of the character. So I'm also going to be doing his hands here, the back of his hands, and the palms of his hands, and in between his fingers. If you sort of need to examine the card, but he looks quite bluey grey with silver highlighting on his fingertips and knuckles and such. I'm going to be taking silver from Vallejo's set, and this is just to paint in the sort of metalworks on his elbow joints and his right arm there. That looks just a lighter silver to the rest. I'm going to be using bright gold by the army painter, and this isn't shown on the card, so I'm going a little bit rogue here, and just trying to make the model a little bit more interesting, otherwise it's going to be a lot of silver by the end. But I'm just painting the cogs there in gold. I'm going to use Tinny by Vallejo. This is a sort of very dark browny gold. Again, it's still a metallic, so it fits nicely with the theme. I think this colour could be also used for the cogs, but here I'm just painting the browning looking parts from the card, which are between his legs, all the leg joints, as well as this centrepiece that he has. I'm going to use Mouldy clothes and very carefully just dot on 2 green eyes for him. And Machinegun metal, my dark silver, I'm going to use to paint in his mace. Is that a mace? It's a huge mace, but I guess he's supposed to be a huge model, so maybe that's just a normal mace to him. And that is the base coat done. It's as easy as that. With the colour primer just saved me painting 90% of the model, as you've seen there, and I've just added in a few dabs of colour. You could even miss out the eyes on this base coating because they're so small, you'll see in the highlight, and it was a bit pointless doing that part. So I'm going to shade the model next, and I'm just going to use the Survivor shader, and I'm using the monster brush as well, my largest brush, just to apply a very, very generous coat of this shader, and catching all the areas and all the colours with this. Just be careful that you don't allow it to sort of pool on the flatter surfaces. Try and make sure it runs into the recesses of the model and all the crevices. You'll see by the end, once the shade is complete, that I did get some pooling, and you just have to paint the base coat back over it, but if it can be avoided, it will just save a little bit of time and effort. So this is taking quite a bit of time, but you can sort of already see the model's got a lot of definition now, and that colour primer is really starting to shine and show how quick and easy it is to paint a mostly metallic model. And I'll just show it you with the shader in place. So hopefully you can see all the rivets are now showing, or that his arm with all those studs looks really good. The cogs are really well defined, or just basically is really, really well defined now. So I'm going to move on to the highlighting, and as I said before, might miss out on the base coating because his eyes are now done using that livery green, and it was 2 small dots once again. I'm going to take back out the Sombre grey, and I'm going to highlight up here all the places we painted the base colour in. So I'm just catching the edges of everything and just adding a bit of lighter colour to give it sort of that 3D look and feel. Hopefully you can see that's coming along. So I'm painting each finger, just dabbing a little bit on the raised parts of each finger there, as well as painting the middle of his palms there, just avoiding the edges, leaving that nice and shaded darkly. I'm going to move on to the bright gold, just do exactly the same, just take it and just catch all the edges of where I previously painted bright gold. This time I'm just painting those studs as well on the back of his legs bright gold, just to, as I say, give him some colour that isn't just this silver. Bringing out the Tinny again and spending a bit of time highlighting up his centrepiece there, and just catching a tiny bit on the backs of his 2 legs. Again, it's back to the base colour, the Machinegun metal, and this is just to do his giant mace, and I'm painting in a line down the centre to give the illusion of the light hitting that, and then I'm going to paint all of the raised parts, all those little rings on the on the mace there, as well as all of the edges of his blade, just leaving the crevices shaded and bringing the rest back up to the base colour again. So now we're on to Claymore blade. This will be the longest of the highlight, because this I'm using to highlight everywhere that we'd sprayed originally with a primer. I'm also just using it to highlight up the corners of all those mace spikes there, just to give it the really brightest, and you can see throughout the video now they really look as though they're catching the light. So I'm taking this Claymore blade, using the detail brush. The model's so big, the detail brush is by far small enough, it wouldn't need the insane detail brush on this one at all. And I'm just going around and catching all of the raised parts that were from the primer originally. So each stud, just adding a little dab there. All of the edges of his armour, catching a line across those as well. Get all his fingertips and knuckles, and then yeah, same on his legs. I'm also going to, as I mentioned, there was some pooling of the ink. You can see on his right there. So I'm just painting in the base colour again, and just leaving the cracks with the shading on it. So if you get any pooling, just do that. Paint it back up, touch it back up. I'm going to use the silver just to highlight those silver bits. I'm going to use this as the final highlight on some of the Claymore blade, so on his helmet and all the studs on his legs, and painting in the lines down the middle of his armour. Hopefully you can see all of that. Just giving an extra layer of highlight on the very edges of the front of his armour. And there's just highlighting up those original silver bits on his arms. Still faffing with his legs, trying to get them perfect. So I'm going to use dead black as I have done with the Zombicide heroes. I've not decided yet. I'm possibly going to cut these off the bases and stick them on a clear base, but for now it takes seconds to paint a black base. I'm just getting out my handy model holder there. Description for the link to that product if anybody's not got one yet and wants to have a look at it. It's from Quickdraw Supplies, and I've done a review on it. It's very handy. So yeah, as I was saying, painting it black for now, but I may well go to the clear bases that I've showed you on previous monsters. Stop the clock. So that whole model, start to finish, took 48 minutes, which is probably the fastest I've ever done a model. If anybody ever wants to know how long they take, I've bothered to remember to say this time. So here we go. This is the finished model.
Wow.
He's table ready and ready to go. So this is quite exciting. Already got some painted models. I mean, we've played the game once and we loved it. I was quite surprised. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as we did, and it makes me want to paint it quickly and so we can improve the gameplay. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and as always, come and find me on social media. Show me what you've been working on, especially if you managed to paint this golem. Let me see how yours looks. Thanks for watching.